gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Beatsmith music. Welcome to the team. No,
I'm just playing with y'all, man. I had to do that like a second time. The first time I seen the replay of my last show last Saturday, and I wasn't even on the screen, so I had to do it while I was on the screen, man. I had to keep it light after last game. Man, last game, we gonna get into it, man. That Rams and Raiders game, I'm still thinking about it. Even though it wasn't as shocking just based off how this season has gone so far this season. But after a 3-game win streak for the Raiders to lose against the Rams, we'll get into it, man. But let me get into the chat, man. I appreciate everybody pulling up. We got Brando Rambo. He says, I really thought Carr turned it around. A little disappointed he lost. I thought he was going to go to the playoffs, man. Hey, man, man, we're going to get into that in a little bit, man. Hey, SVT in the building. He says, oh, no, we suck again. Damn. Man, but hey, man, that's how it feels right now, man. Arturo Granado says Carr haters want to move on. However, I'm no Carr hater. I feel he should remain as the Raiders QB. Okay, we'll get into it, man. We'll talk about everything, including Derek Carr for the Raiders as a Raiders QB. Antonio Rodriguez Raiders all day, man. I feel you, man. I'm gonna give you one of those, man. You still a Raider fan, man. We still Raider fans at the end of the day, man. Angel Hero says, I'm still drinking since Thursday. Man, hey, man, cool it, man. It's all good, man. Then day's just a game, man. Come on, man. You got to take care of yourself. But I understand, man. That was a tough, just an ugly loss. Ugly, disgusting loss. D Menace in the building. Salute, Farrell. Appreciate you coming through, D Menace. Man, but my co-host is backstage. Let me bring him in, man. Hold up. Bring him in. What's going on, Raider Ray? What's
going on, Farrell? What's going on, chat?
Man, hey, man. Gotta give you applause, man. But, man, last game, bro. What happened? What happened? The Raiders and Rams the Raiders had it in the bag. You had Baker Mayfield. Literally, he wasn't a Ram on Monday. Wasn't he officially a Ram on Tuesday? Was it Tuesday? Because it was like
48 hours, yeah.
And then you have all these top-notch players that are not playing for the Rams. You have like the guys like Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson. Everything was just lining up for the Raiders to just take care of business. And then, you on to the Patriots. But, that didn't happen, man. What were your thoughts, man, after the Raiders lost last Thursday?
It kind of felt like here we go again. It just felt like the theme of the season is not coming up and playing in big games. And I know that on paper, this wasn't a big game when it comes to matchup of superstars. It was a big game because this is a game that you go in here and you have to win it. And not only just win it, like squeak by, but you put an emphasis on this win by showing the league that, hey, the Raiders have arrived. We're better than what we were at the beginning of the year. And now we're finding out ways to put teams away. That's what I was looking forward to. And even, honestly, Farrell, not even talking about how the game ended, it was how close this game was throughout 4 quarters. Yep. I kept looking down at the scoreboard, and I'm like, this is really the only gap that we have with this team right now. Like, the whole time, it felt like that they were still able to come back. And I don't know, man. It just kind of seems like the theme of the year, if I'm being honest.
And I got a whole lot of sound bites of classic coaches going on rants. And let me just start with this one, man, because this is exactly how I feel.
We aren't good enough. They're better than us. Black and white, simple fact. Could have, would have, should have is the difference of what I'm talking about. The good teams don't come in and say could have. They get it done. All right? It's that simple. I'm tired of saying could have, should have, would have. That's why we ain't good enough yet. Because we're saying could have and they ain't.
Facts, 100%, man. That's pretty much the Raiders season. The Raiders season was woulda, coulda, shoulda, but at the end of the day, they can't get it done on Sunday. Whether that's the coaching staff, just man, a lot of people were pointing at Derek Carr, and he has enough blame. I'm not gonna, but it wasn't just Derek Carr. That's the worst thing about that Raiders loss was it wasn't just on Derek Carr. It was Derek Carr. It was Josh McDaniels. Patrick Graham. It was the players not executing. It was dumb penalties. Like, oh my God, Cleveland Farrell in the fourth quarter. What are you doing? You know what I mean?
Jerry
Literally,
Tillery.
they were punting the ball away. He's what is he? You're not trying to sack a quarterback. All you're trying to do is all you got to do is just hike and get back to punt coverage. Block your man. That's all you have to do. And this dude is what was he thinking? It was just one of those mental mistakes, one of the many mental mistakes the Raiders had. And I'm not gonna act like the refs didn't do they. Oh my God.
Let's get that out of the way. I don't even ask Raider Nation to go watch the whole entire game. Just put on the last drive of the Rams and just circle Max Crosby at the top of your screen and watch every single play. This guy's getting tackled to the ground. This guy is arms completely wrapped around the neck, and there's no calls. I mean, I don't understand how referees can get away with stuff like this. Typically, I like to let teams play.
Right.
You're not going to capture everything, and I don't think you necessarily want the referees to capture everything. We don't want to see the flags get thrown all night. Okay, I'm of the camp. Let these guys go out here and play football. But when it comes down to a game-winning drive like that, and how blatantly obvious in front of the face of a referee who is just staring down Max Crosby, down in, down out, and you don't throw the flag, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know what we can do, one, as fans, but as a bigger picture, what can we do to hold referees more accountable for games like this?
We got to show up at their house. Hey, this is Bob Stein. You were referring I don't know. I'm just messing with y'all. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, the refs are going to do exactly what they want to do, and that's what the NFL wants them to do. But that's a whole different conversation. I mean, look, I wrote something down here, man. It was based off pretty much the Raiders. Look, teams that were trailing by 13 plus in the last 4 minutes since 2018 are 4 and 551 games. 4 wins and 551 losses since 2018. And the 2 losses out of those 4 wins came actually this week. Tom Brady, he had to come back in the fourth quarter on Sunday. And then obviously the Rams, pretty much did that to us on Thursday. Man, it's just you can look at all the stats, bro. It's just at this point, man, it's like this. It's just the same old. And at this point,
the fourth double digit? Is this the fourth double-digit lead that we had given up for a loss?
I think. Let's see here. I think I wrote that the Raiders are 0-4 when leading by double digits at halftime.
Yep.
Other NFL teams are 59-6 this season.
Oh my gosh, man.
So
honestly, okay.
Okay. And let's not hope. Like if you're hoping the Raiders win the next 4 games, let's hope they're not up by double digits at halftime.
Exactly.
Because for some reason they can't figure it out. They don't know how to. I don't know if it's you could blame coaching, the execution, players, Derek Carr. You know what I mean? And Derek Carr, bro.
Let's talk about it. What is going on with the second half offense? What is going on? To me, Pharaoh, this was a game where Derek Carr is playing a Baker Mayfield on 48 hours. You're facing an LA Rams team that has 6 losses, and they're really, really struggling, and they're losing all their superstars. This is one of those games, and I'm going to come after DC a little bit here. You have to go out here and put an emphasis on why you're a top 10, top 12 quarterback, and you have to separate yourself from the pack a little bit. You can't just look like you're playing to the talent of your opponents. You've got to go in here. You've got to throw the rock, and you've got to at least do your standard. Do your 2 touchdowns and let Josh Jacobs do the rest.
Yeah.
You go in here and you throw 2 interceptions, and you let Baker Mayfield look like he's been with the LA Rams for the entire offseason. I mean, the guy played 4 quarters and goes out there and wins on a 98-yard drive to beat the Raiders. I don't think people understand the reality of the situation of what is going on with this football team.
Man, look, put it this way. Rams scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. All season, they scored 4. They're one of the worst teams in the fourth quarter.
with a quarterback that you just signed.
And I'm laughing, y'all, because it's just at this point, like, what can I do?
It hurts so bad. Like, if
Like,
you don't laugh, you'll cry.
look at Raiders 7528. He says Albert Einstein's famous line was, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting different results. Facts. 100%. And that's pretty much the Raiders season so far. I mean, I don't know if it's, you could see another thing when I was watching the Raiders game on Thursday was the fact that it just felt like McDaniels, the Raiders, they're just playing not to lose. That was the energy that they were bringing. They were not aggressive. They weren't trying to pass the ball. Like, they weren't trying to use any other running backs other than Josh Jacobs, even though Josh Jacobs is breaking down, as we can see, breaking his pinky. He's playing with a bad calf. Like, I still don't understand why we're not using any other running backs. We have 5-6 running backs on the roster. I know Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the NFL, but at the same time, like, we know his history. He does break down, and he is breaking down right now. He is getting hurt. So, hey, if we're going to make a run for the playoffs, if that's what their mindset is, then why don't you try to incorporate all the other running backs? And we haven't seen it yet. You look back, and I was going to say this to you before, but, I wanted to get this out. You look back, during preseason, and you let go a guy like Kenyon Drake. If you don't trust Zamir White as a rookie to run the ball, then why would you not keep Kenyon Drake?
You could go around with a few of the roster moves. Kenyon Drake, Demarcus Robinson. He'd be nice to have in this offense right now, especially when it comes to having balance. And those two guys have gone on to find success this season. They're not superstars, but they're contributing to their respective ball clubs. And it's like, these are areas that we could have emphasized and used the extra bodies at. We didn't need Brandon Bolden. I think you cut ties with that, right? Amir Abdullah, I like him, but are we really in the position where we need to hold 6 running backs when Josh Jacobs, let's be honest, is getting 98% of the workload?
Yeah, man. I just don't get it. And at the same time, like, Derek Carr, as I'm not gonna act like he had a good game. He was 2 for 11 in the second half for interception, and literally, like, he throws an interception right before halftime. Terrible. And I seen a stat out here. I didn't write it down, but I seen it. And I know a lot of Raider Nation probably seen it at this point. I think it's since 2014, Derek Carr is the leader in interceptions in the red zone.
And that is where I want to get to tonight. And I told you we were going to save it for the live show, is all the questions about the Raiders red zone over the last few seasons, pointing the finger. What is the problem? Is it John Gruden's play calling? Is it Derek Carr? I think now at this point, you can highlight Derek Carr. I think when it comes down to the red zone, Derek Carr has regressed in his career when it comes down to being efficient. We talked about it last week. I know we were coming off of a W, so everything always feels better when there's a win. But DC has a terrible, terrible flaw in his game, and it's keeping his eyes locked in on one person in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
He was locked into Mac Hollins, and he was not going to go anywhere else with that football unless it was Mac Hollins. And he gets hit, which wasn't even a significant hit, by the way, and just throws the ball up in the air. You can make the argument if you just go in and kick that field goal, then they don't even have an opportunity to come back, touchdown or not. So points are so essential, especially if you're going to play that close game of running the football. You've got to take the field goal. And I think you can just honestly say that at this point, I think it's Derek Carr that creates the red zone issues. That's just my opinion.
Man, I mean, it's hard to say that you're wrong. You know what I mean, at this point, because it's been a while since the Raiders have been good in the red zone. But I will say that before Gruden got here, Derek Carr didn't have those issues. But that being said, like I said, it's been a while since the Raiders have been good in the red zone. It's been a while. And Derek Carr's not helping. I mean, if you're like one of the league leaders in interceptions in the red zone, that's a terrible stat, man. Like, that's points. That's you could literally point to that and say that's why we're losing. If you're continually throwing interception in the red zone. And I'm not saying it's all of Derek Carr's fault. I'm not saying that, there's other contributive factors, obviously the different coaching staffs, the different regimes, different ownership. I mean, not ownership, but, the GMs, the missed first round picks, the teams that Derek Carr has had to have around him, but at this point, maybe you could probably say maybe that's taking a toll on him. You know what I mean? it's at the end of the day, like he 9 years, you know what I mean? And then finally you get into an offense with Josh McDaniels, and everybody's saying it's one of the hardest offenses in NFL. And like Devontae Adams famously said before the season, he said, "Oh, this offense is like learning Mandarin." You know what I mean? And he's the wide receiver. Imagine the quarterback having to do that. And he hasn't looked comfortable all season. You could look at his numbers and be like, "Oh, okay, he has 20 touchdowns and like 11 picks, not too bad or whatever." Da, da, da. But he's literally his lowest completion percentage since his early in his career. And just watching the game, like, he just doesn't look comfortable. It's just there's not that. I haven't had a signature Derek Carr moment as far as like playing well and playing great. I mean, he's had a 3 touchdown game this season, but it's just, I just don't feel like he has that full command. Maybe, possibly he can come back next year and we'll see. But will McDaniels make that choice? You know what I mean? Will McDaniels make that choice? And the reason why I say that is because it's interesting that Derek Carr only had 20 pass attempts in that Rams game. 20 attempts. The previous games, he had 35. And the Rams, coming into the game, they're one of the best run defenses. They're a better run defending team than they are a pass defending team. They actually give a lot of plays in the passing game. Where was that? Where was the game? Like, the game plan was very, I think after that interception, maybe McDaniels got a little bit conservative. He lost a little, confidence with Derek Carr, possibly. You could make an argument and say that, because after that, boom, it was just hand the ball off. And obviously, Derek Carr is a rhythm quarterback at the end of the day. You know what I mean? If you're not letting him get some passing attempts in there, he's not going to play as well.
If I'm being completely honest, I know how much Gruden emphasized getting Derek Carr better, especially when it came to the red zone, and it never panned out. And now you get Josh McDaniels, and look, everybody circles him as this offensive guru, this mastermind. I'm going to put that on the shelf a little bit, if I'm going to be honest with you, until he consistently proved that. I like what he's done with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, obviously. But to be honest with you, the Derek Carr situation's hard. It's hard for me to navigate through because red zone, he's not necessarily there. These games where you need him to step up and just kind of go off a little bit. You just said that, when was the last time we got a Derek Carr performance? It doesn't feel like last year where the game is on the line, the ball is in Derek Carr's hands. He's going to go out here and finish this. Like, he's going to go put the dagger in this team. I just don't see it. I don't see that anymore.
Even last year, like you could pick on multiple games where you said Derek Carr had a great game.
Yeah.
Like, just watching the game, if you're just watching the game, not looking at the numbers, you just, man, Derek Carr had a great game. This year, it's more of everybody else. It's more of like Devontae Adams had a crazy game. Josh Jacobs had a crazy game. Literally, in order for the Raiders to win, Devontae Adams has to play great, Josh Jacobs has to play great, and Max Crosby has to play great. If that doesn't happen, the Raiders are losing.
Mm-hmm. And Derek Carr needs to be in that equation, but he's not. That's where I'm at. I'm like, look, when you're talking about the leaders and the superstars on this team, you just alluded to it. If Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs has a good game, Max Crosby goes off, chances are the Raiders win. But there needs to be that fourth name in that mix, and it's got to be Derek Carr. Derek Carr, when those 3 positional players are struggling, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Max Crosby, when those guys are struggling, you've got to have that guy that can go in there and get this team back in the football game. There's no reason why the Rams should have been floating around in this. And this is where my critique is on Derek. I don't know. Like, look, guys, the reality of the situation is next season's going to be 1 decade with number 4 at the helm. And I'm not saying get rid of him. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is what part of his games can you salvage? What can you build around? And where are we at? Where are we at as Derek Carr is the leader of the organization? And can you go out here and go to the playoffs with DC? I want to say you can. I want to say that he has all the abilities in the world to carry this team into the playoffs. But it's pretty evident that we haven't seen it yet, and it's hard to justify his game to say that he elevates everybody around him to the next level.
Facts, 100%, man. And let me get into the chat real quick. Angel Harrow says 20 years of dysfunctional, man. It's the truth, though. It's literally the truth. I mean, the Raiders have been bad for a long time, and it's not there. And hey, it's not just on the quarterback. It's just not on just one player. It's like it's deeper than that, man. It's people who's making decisions, and the Raiders have had issues with that for a long time. And man, at this point, like right now, like is McDaniels the guy? You know what I mean? Is McDaniels the guy? Like, and I don't want to put it all on coaching, man. The players, like I said, made mistakes out there. I pointed out the Cleveland Farrell penalty that was terrible. That was a fourth down. Like literally, they're punting the ball away, and Cleveland Farrell gets offsides. Terrible penalty. They get the first down, and they get the first of their 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and they end up winning that game. And then you have, man, I don't even want to say this, man, but Trayvon, no play Morik, man. Trayvon, no play Morik, man. At the end of the day, man, the dude, it's just he's not a playmaker in this system, man. It's taken a while. I hope, there's 4 games left. There's an ability for him to, but as the season goes on, if he doesn't progress, you got to think that is that going to be another draft pick that the Raiders possibly might cut ties? You know what I mean? When I say the Raiders, I mean Josh McDaniels, Dave Z. You know what I mean? Because and the reason why I bring up Trayvon no play Morik is you remember on that last drive where literally Baker Mayfield throws deep, and I don't even know how to pronounce his last Shranik, whatever his last name, gets a jump ball on Nate Hobbs, and you're looking at Morik. He's right there. Why is he not knocking the ball out the way? He's just casually walking, and that's on tape too. You could just watch that. You could watch it replay that whole moment, and I'm sure the coaching staff is looking at that. And they didn't hesitate to cut John Simpson after he got into the game, which is sucked because he never really played that position like that. He's more of a left guard, not a right guard, but they're definitely not fans of him because he literally hasn't started since the second game of the season, I believe. And he goes into the game after Alex Bars comes in, gets hurt, and it looks like Alex Bars is going to be out for an extended amount of time. There's only 4 games left in the season. And he's now cut. That's another John Gruden, Mike Mayock pick, now gone. And
also Lester Cotton, they waived him today.
Lester Cotton is gone. Wow,
they waived him today too.
Whew.
So, like, where do you go? Where do you go with this offensive line? Who's our guard right now? Are you going to try to kick? Are you going to try to kick Jermaine Illuminor inside? I think that's a terrible idea. Don't put Theron Mumford out there on an island with Foster Moreau next to him. I mean, talk about predictability. If you want to give defenses every cue on what you're going to do, put Amir Abdullah in and Foster Moreau chipping next to Theron Mumford, and you know that it's going to be a pass play. So I think Illuminor has done a good enough job at the right tackle spot. Maybe, hey, look, Theron Mumford played guard in college. If he's going to be your swing tackle and you're experimenting with him and you don't know if he's going to be a tackle at this next level, maybe these last 4 games, put him in at guard and see what he can do.
Yeah, and we're at that point in the season, man, like where you have to go out and you got to make sure you got to figure out who is going to stay and who's going to go, who's going to be coming back next season, who's not going to be coming back this season, next season, and that's literally where the Raiders are at. I mean, they're not technically mathematically not out, but competitive AFC, like literally they're going to have to win out and just basically pray if that something falls their way. You know what I mean? Someone goes on a terrible losing streak that's in playoff contention. And I mean, I guess the bright side is they didn't lose to an AFC team. They lost to an NFC team, so it doesn't really, mess up their chances, I guess. But that's still a L on the loss column. They still took an L on the loss column. And let me get to the chat, man. I'm just like, I didn't get a chance to talk about, the game after it happened. I just literally just turn off the TV, hit up Ray for a little bit. I was just like, I'm not talking about this game. This is terrible, man.
I didn't rewatch it. I didn't rewatch it.
You could tell by the players. The players, they didn't want to talk to nobody.
Nope.
I heard
it was quiet. It's been quiet.
Yeah, because they know that was a game that they should have won. Devontae didn't want to talk to nobody. I don't know if you've seen Mac Hollins after the game. I guess he was getting interviewed by the Raiders media. Guys like Eric Allen and I forgot Marcel Reese were interviewing him after the game, and you could just tell, like, he was just like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like he didn't want to talk. He did not want to talk at all. You could just tell by his energy. Like, he just like, man, he knew. He
Hey,
knew it was
for the first
a
time,
terrible loss.
I didn't watch any post game interviews. I didn't. I just like this is one of those losses. It's just unacceptable. And you know what? I'm just a fan. You know what I mean? Like I'm a part of Raider Nation, and I sit here and I support this team week in, week out, year in, year out, regime in, regime out. And this one has to sit with the locker room. This one's on them. You know, the players have to feel it. The coaching staff has to feel it. And you've got to step up your game. You go into these games, and we've seen it this year. I'm tired of the games that we should be winning and winning with an emphasis, and you fall so short of the mark. And it's such a bad look for the organization. It's a bad look for Mark Davis, Josh McDaniels, Derek Carr. I mean, everybody on this roster. You should not be losing these games, especially how you're losing them by a point or two here and there. The Kansas City game, the Titans game, this game. I mean, the Jags game, the Colts game, you go down the line, man, like one play here or there, and you're talking about a 10-plus win football team.
Right.
And that's just not the reality where we're at right now.
Right, man. And Raider Ray says, who calls the plays, DC or McDaniels? I think it's McDaniels, right? See, the thing is that last Thursday was a team loss. You can go on a rant about McDaniels. You can go on a rant about Derek Carr. You can go on a rant about the defense. You can go on a rant about the coaching staff overall, like just the team overall, like the mistakes, the dumb penalties, and you could go on a rant about the refs. But everything contributed. The Raiders contributed to that loss. At the end of the day, like I know the refs. The refs are never going to be on our side. Never. They've never been and never will, and they're always going to. We know what it is as Raider fans. We see what happens. You know what I mean? We got so many different scenarios and instances where the refs don't really want to. They're not going to give us a call. But at the end of the day, some of those penalties were dumb. Like, come on, we didn't even talk about it. That Tillery penalty.
That's so stupid.
That was a sack. That was literally game over.
That's it.
That was
Robertson.
No timeouts. A sack. Game over. Like the time was dwindling but then you give them a penalty, the clock stops, and then boom, the rest is history.
And look, you can say who calls the plays, DC or McDaniels, and obviously Coach McDaniels calls the plays, but these players need to execute as well. I could stand on the sideline and call 1,000 plays, and all of them are dialed up for the right coverages, for the right design, the right breakdown. But if my players aren't executing them, regardless of any plays that's on that sheet, none of them are going to play out how they were drawn up to be if the players don't execute them. And the fact of the matter is hey, who knows? Like, is DC, does he have that freedom to go up to the line of scrimmage and check into run plays? I would be curious behind the scenes, be a fly on the wall in those Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr meetings where they're going over film and just really get a hand on who is the problem here, you know?
Sam Tanker, you see what I'm saying? True, the games we remember Carr is playing good in is the games where he dissects the defense. This year has been on other players stepping up more than Carr taking over. Fact. And, there could be a lot of different reasons. Maybe it's because Carr is not really – he hasn't, that offense is he's still trying to figure it out. And it's crazy to say that we're saying that with 4 games left in the season. But, hey, that's the reality of the situation. He just hasn't looked comfortable back there. And maybe that's the effect of having how many different coordinators? Him and McDaniels haven't been it hasn't been a smooth transition. That being said, man, at the end of the day, like, there's still 4 games left. As much as we've been talking about how the Raider season has been a disappointment. We can get on all the players and who's messing up, but there's still 4 games left. If the Raiders go on a 4-game win streak, Derek Carr plays well, the offense plays well, the defense plays well, I think Raider Nation is going to be a different tune. You know what I mean? There's going to be a whole different conversation. Right now, we're just reacting to last game, and it just was a bad loss. And it's not even about losing; it's how you're losing and who you're losing to. Like, come on, the Rams without Matthew Stafford, Arenado, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson,
the Rams, the Colts, the Jags.
Like, you can barely name the players on the field for the Rams.
100%. I
don't know none of the players, barely. And I'm not saying that I'm like I know everything about football, but at the same time, like I know enough where I could go to different teams and name certain players. But like you look at the Rams, like and Powell and Tutu Atwell and
now if the Raiders do go 9-8 and finish out this year strong, how do you feel about? I mean, we're not even going to get into Josh McDaniels being the coach of the future. He's obviously going to get another season. 9-8 though, as a first year head coach, given the circumstances, are you marking that as a win for the Raiders as a first year head coach, or are you marking that as a loss?
It's a disappointment. I said going into the season, for the Raiders to have a successful season is to go to the playoffs and win a playoff game. That was my expectation. Now, if they won a Super Bowl, yeah, obviously. But what I'm saying is that based off last year, they were a playoff team. They went to the playoffs. They can build off that, go to the playoffs, and actually win a playoff game. You're building something at that point. Now it just seems like they're kind of starting over a little bit, low key. And this coaching staff, man, there's a lot of things that keep coming, they keep happening. And when things keep happening with the team, you got to look at the coaching. Got to look at the coaching staff.
And also, now you're starting to see the fruit of running Josh Jacobs that much. And now everybody that, you want to throw a ton of money at him, this is going to be the reality of signing him to a long-term deal with a ton of guaranteed money. There's going to come a point in the season where things like this pop up. Little hand injuries, a nagging calf that has turned into obviously hampering his game a little bit. Where are you at with Josh Jacobs? Do you still want to pay the man? Where are you at with that?
I definitely would want him back. But if the Raiders are going to go rebuild mode, I'm just throwing that out there, Raider Nation.
You see that happening? Just being honest.
Nah, I don't. I think Mark Davis wants to win. He has to win. I mean, it's a new market. Like, how you not? You can't just. He's trying to. He has to win.
If DC goes, does Devontae go? Especially if you're going to try to sell to Devontae Adams that you're bringing in a rookie quarterback.
I think Devontae. I can see Devontae probably demanding a trade.
Yep.
Because he's trying to win.
Yep.
He's not trying to be part of a rebuild.
Nope. That's my only problem.
If Devontae stays, you got to sell him on what the roster is and what it's going to be.
Hey, DC's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. His contract situation, he's done nothing but benefit the Raiders. Okay, because all of it was guaranteed this season. He can completely restructure. So it's kind of in his favor at that point because the organization's like, hey, it's going to be hard to replace you. And then on top of that, you double down and you go get his best friend who it's not like you just went out and got a good wide receiver that you can just move on from and just go and rebuild. You go out and get the best wide receiver in football. And it's kind of like a co-sign type of deal where Devontae comes in and plays with his best friend and openly comes out and says, the only reason why I'm here is because of Derek Carr. So DC has also leveraged himself in a position here with this organization that it's like, look, if you move on from me, you're completely hitting the rebuild button.
Yeah, it's definitely strategic. He has to think strategically. You know what I mean? Because it's a business at the end of the day. NFL players, like, they have to sign contracts. They put their body on the line, and that's literally their business. You know what I mean? If their body doesn't work, they can't make any money. So Derek Carr is definitely thinking about his future. He talks to his agent. He talks to his family. They're all in his ear. He definitely sees how it's going to work out. He bet on himself, but it was a smart gamble because he brought Devontae Adams there. He knew
what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. But that being said, like, you never know. You never know. At the end of the day, like, I thought it was interesting how Josh McDaniels called that game. Right?
It was interesting.
20 attempts for Derek Carr. Where in the previous 5 games he averaged 35. Interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why are you not going at? Why are you not still? Hey, I know Jalen Ramsey's guarding Devontae Adams, but like, come on now, it's Devontae Adams.
And especially over the last few weeks, the Raiders' offense has been so well balanced. Like, as much as it seems like Josh Jacobs is getting the rock almost 30 times a game, the Raiders were dispersing the pass at the same volume, which was equally as impressive as the Raiders running the ball effectively on the ground, was their ability to transfer that over into such a balanced passing attack. So the fact of the matter is when you go into a second half, and what did you say Derek Carr was in the second half? I think he had less than 12 attempts in the second half throwing the football.
2 for 11.
2 for 11
and an interception. I mean,
See, that's uncalled for. That means, so everybody that's saying Josh McDaniels is calling the plays, Derek Carr went 2 for 11. That means Josh McDaniels gave Derek Carr 11 opportunities to pass the football, and he connected on 2 of them. That's when we're talking about execution. That's what it talks about. I could dial up any type of play, but if the player doesn't execute it, it doesn't work. And obviously all the blame is going to go to Josh McDaniels, but Derek Carr has to step up and execute plays in this offense. It is what it is. We don't have time. We've already put ourselves in such a big hole. We don't have time to just slowly bring this thing along. And against a Rams team, you got to go out there and beat them. And who's to say if he didn't connect on 8 of the 11 in the second half that those numbers wouldn't spike? That Josh McDaniels says, oh, okay, Derek Carr's in a rhythm here. Our passing game is going. The reason why we probably didn't throw it in the second half is because Derek Carr is not connecting.
Right.
So it's forcing your hand into running the football to Josh Jacobs. I don't know, man. It's just
I will say, just to play devil's advocate, Derek Carr is a rhythm quarterback. He's a streaky quarterback. So that hot cold game that Josh McDaniels likes to do, sometimes I think it throws a guy like Derek Carr off. You know what I mean? You got to keep. That's where you got to know your talent. You got to know the players. You got to be able to have confidence in your players. And I just didn't feel like Josh McDaniels had that confidence in him. You know what I mean? 20 attempts. He didn't try to. He was just doing the same thing over and over again. I think it was there was a sequence. I think it was in the fourth quarter where he literally ran the ball 3 straight times to Josh Jacobs. Didn't go nowhere. 3 and they got the ball back. Oh yeah, it was a possession before they punted it to the Rams, and then obviously the Rams went on to win the game that last drive. But he ran the ball 3 straight times. It was just yo, were they looking? And I'm gonna throw this at you too. You think they were looking past the Rams?
Oh, I mean, 100. I mean, yes and no. I think that you don't necessarily look past the team, but I think you look at. I think they got comfortable. I think that they were feeling themselves a little bit. You know, they go on this 3-game run. I feel like they felt like how the fan base felt. The only problem is they have to go out there and perform and execute in order for us to talk about how good this team is. You know, so they're looking at this Rams team signing Baker Mayfield. You're not really practicing this week. You know, you're not getting on the football field and practicing an actual game plan with them, which is also what I think led to a little bit of the play calling as well. That's why I think you went extremely run heavy and vanilla, because there wasn't that much game planning. These guys weren't on the practice field coming up with a specific game plan versus the Rams. This was all film study, tendencies on tape. So, you know, to me, to be honest, man, you alluded to Josh McDaniels calling a hot and cold game, and I would just to also play devil's advocate. Is it Josh McDaniels playing a hot or cold game, or is Derek Carr hot and cold, and that's just how his water runs? Is that just the part of his game right now where 1 week you're going to get a quarterback that's extremely accurate, time on task, getting in a rhythm, and then there's going to be those weeks where he's not in a rhythm and the passing offense is just not clicking. Outside of him going to Devontae Adams, which a lot of quarterbacks in the league, I'm going to make the argument, a lot of quarterbacks in the league could go and throw the ball up on a 50-50 ball to Devontae Adams and that same result happen, if I'm being completely honest. So
let me say something to that too, because all right, yeah, and I know, and I'm not, Derek Carr didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good game. I don't think Josh McDaniels had a good game as a coach. I don't think Patrick Graham, I thought they played well, played well, you know what I mean? Because they were letting. I didn't like that Baker Mayfield had a solid game. I wanted him to have a terrible game. 2 days to prepare for the Raiders. I mean, new offense, and he has we'll talk about it in a little bit. But going back to what you're saying about Derek Carr, it's Devontae Adams, and I'm not gonna lie, it's Hollins is not. He's not a number 2 receiver. He shouldn't be on the field like he is with the Raiders.
But thankfully, the Holland situation,
Moreau is not a starting tight end.
No,
in my opinion, I just don't. Moreau, if he's starting, that means that everybody else around him are like all stars, and that's literally could have been the case if some guys were healthy, guys like Renfro and Waller. You know what I mean? That's why Hollins and Moreau were not supposed to be counted on to be guys on the field playing a lot of snaps. That was where Waller came in. That's where Renfro came in. But they're not on the field, and now you're seeing them on the field for a lot of snaps. And Derek Carr doesn't really have a lot to go to other than Devontae Adams, and then run the ball, and then he'll throw it to Moreau, he'll drop a pass. He'll throw it to Hollins, he'll drop a pass. There's no consistency because those players are not supposed to be out there for that long. You know what I mean? Those guys are supposed to be in there for a couple plays here and there, sprinkle them in, but they're not supposed to be in there snap after snap. And then I got to get hold on 1 second, man. Before I forget, man, I got to announce this, man. Hey, man, I forgot to. The last couple weeks have been super busy for me, but man, I got to be a man of my word. Man, I really appreciate the growth of this channel. I'm doing a 2K prize giveaway. I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to post the link, and my bots can keep reposting this link so people can sign up. Whoever's pulled up, make sure you go. It's a Google Doc, so just go over there and sign up. All you got to do is put your username and your email, and you will win a 2K prize. There'll be a drawing on the next live show. Let me post this link. You see the link right here. Boom. Right there. You see, y'all. I put it in there. So, man, I'm just appreciating everybody that supported me since I started back in early March, and then I took a little hiatus, took a little break, got back on it while the season started, and the growth has been amazing. I really appreciate the support. So make sure to, hey, man, this is just me just showing my, showing my love. You know what I mean? Like, and I appreciate everybody that supported me. So go ahead and just sign up. All you gotta do is put your YouTube name and your email, and there's gonna be a drawing on the next live show. And yeah, there's gonna be a prize giveaway, man. I think the last winner was GA Patriot. GA Patriot won the last prize giveaway, so I'm gonna do another one. I'll be a man of my word. I apologize. I wanted to do it immediately, right when I hit 2K, but like I just had a lot of things going on the last couple of weeks. But hey, I'm doing it now, so I'm here now. So make sure y'all check out that link. And yeah, man, like, and my mods, please repost the link and help out the chat, man. You know how it is. Appreciate y'all. But Dodgers, everything. As much as I hate to say this, but I can see McDaniels giving Carr a pass since it's his first year under the new staff. I mean, Mark Davis is giving McDaniels a pass. You know what I mean? Like, Mark Davis is giving McDaniels a pass, and I'm not. I'm going to be as honest about, like, I hope, like I said, when the Raiders were on their 3-game win streak, I was like, you know what? Hey, maybe McDaniels possibly could be the guy. Like, they're playing well, but man, when I see games like this against the Rams, where I see the coaching just being, they literally, how do you let a guy like Baker Mayfield beat you? You know what I mean?
So terrible. Like, it's just one of those losses, man. It just sits so weird in my gut. Like, I haven't dwelled on it too much. As soon as I seen him driving, and then they threw up that deep ball, Sam Webb, single high, playing press man coverage. And then I seen him score. It was just like a numbness. I was just quiet, to be honest with you. I was just like, this is where we are. This is where this team is. They can beat anybody, but they could also lose to everybody, and that's the problem with the Raiders in the 2022 season. Yeah, and to piggyback off of giving Carr a pass, I could see that as well. Obviously, given the circumstances with Devontae Adams, Waller, Renfro, all that being out, you could easily chalk it up to, hey, you could already see the headlines. Derek Carr had such an adverse season with his first year with Josh McDaniels, losing all of his weapons going into the year, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, wins or losses is what matters, and execution of the offense means more to me than anything else. So I do see Derek Carr coming back. I do see Josh McDaniels coming back, and I see such an emphasis on throwing a ton of young talent on this defensive side of the football. But I could also see, don't be surprised if this offseason they lock up the right tackle position with Jermaine Illuminor and give him a little bit of money, because you're not going to go out there and spend a ton of money in free agency on a veteran right tackle unless some superstar hits the market. You might have to pay Josh Jacobs. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they take this approach of still putting money on the offensive side of the football. You have to go get a true number 2 wideout. I think that's pretty evident. And then drafting, using all those 13 or so, whatever the number turns out being, draft picks to go and build this defense.
They're going to be wheeling and dealing.
They have to, especially with that many draft picks.
Yeah, and because at the end of the day, like, you know, draft picks are not a guarantee. So if you know there's a guy on your draft board that's available and you could possibly get him by trading up, if you put 13 picks, you're going to definitely trade up to get that player, because that's going to be a possible starter player that could play well under your system. In this case, McDaniels and Patrick Graham. And Raiders Down Under, I appreciate you coming through. He has a Raider channel as well, so if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to Raiders Down Under. He says, just a question. Do you guys blame the D for this? Do you guys blame the defense for this loss? Because personally, I don't know we technically can, because of what happened in the last 5 minutes. Because it shouldn't come to that. Shouldn't come down to that. It's a good point. And that's why I said this loss is a team loss. You can point to a lot of different factors. You could point to Derek Carr. You can point to Josh McDaniels. You can point to the mistakes that they made, penalties. You could point to the bad. The refs didn't really, have a good. I mean, they never do, but you can point to a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, like, it was bad though, man. You know what I mean? You can't. I understand where you're coming from, but it was terrible, bro. Like, Baker Mayfield, he did not know the Rams offense on Monday. He knew it on Tuesday and Wednesday, showed up to the game. And then I literally, in the beginning of the show, I put out a stat where the Rams literally scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But before coming into the game, they scored 4 touchdowns all season in the fourth quarter. One of the worst teams in the fourth quarter. And you let Baker Mayfield come in and score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter? That's not good, bro.
And with Patrick Graham being and look, over these last 3 games, he's gotten creative on the defensive side of the football, done some pretty unique things. When you've got Baker Mayfield on less than 48 hours in an offense and has to go 98 yards, why would you not open up this playbook and make this extremely confusing? Bring guys up to the line, peel some off in coverage, make things hard for him. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, too, like, and we talked about this before, like, why didn't they just let them pass the ball? Like, get them underneath the passes, run some zone. Like, why were they? Yeah, I understand they're playing aggressive and all that, but come on, man, we got to get out of there with a W, bro.
I think that they were really heavily.
They had no timeouts.
I think they were heavily banking on Baker Mayfield in a crucial moment of the game being so new to the offense to make a mistake.
Yeah,
and that gamble didn't pay off. Especially when you play a ton of man defense, you're making him make perfect throws. And the problem with that routine was you left the sidelines, you left the boundaries wide open. You know what I mean? In single coverage, where those 50-50 go balls, if you are a new quarterback in a new scheme, let's thank you. I'm sure Baker Mayfield's saying, like, thank you. You allowed me to come into a new offense, and you gave me looks that it was either my guy or your guy. And all I got to do is make the good throw. I'm going to take those chances 7 out of the 7 days of the week. So, defense could get circled as a part of it. But look, the fact of the matter is 17 points won them the football game. The offense has to find ways against the defense that the Rams have to go out there and put more points up. You have to put up 20-plus points in a game like this. There's no excuse.
Yeah, 100%, man. And Sam Tonka says defense did get tired. They got the ball back and offense went 3 and out, but they hurt themselves with penalties. Man. And like I said, that Tillery penalty was probably one of the – you could argue that was the worst penalty tonight on the Raiders. Like, when you look at it, you're like, come on, they're going to call a 15-yard penalty on that, just smacking the ball out of his hands. But come on, bro. It's the end of the game. It was game over. All you got to do is you can just stare at him. Just stare at him and just talk some shit or something. I don't know. Like, you don't have to, like, smack the ball at his hand and get a penalty. It was game over. Oh my God! But that's the Raiders' season, man. It at the end of the day, that's not the reason why they lost. Technically, you can point to it and be like, "Hey, they could have won if that didn't happen." But it was a lot of different factors, man. Carr didn't have a good game. Josh McDaniels didn't have a good game. You know, players made mistakes. They didn't execute. I mean, like I said, if you know Devontae Adams doesn't play great, Max Crosby doesn't play great, or Josh Jacobs doesn't play great, the Raiders don't win. Josh Jacobs had 99 yards rushing, but he did have his second worst game as far as carries per average per carry, and I think it was like 3 point something, and that was like his second worst of the season. You know, take that for however way you want to take it. You know, he did have 99 yards, but still, like,
Hey, Max Crosby still though, defensive player of the year in my opinion.
nah, he's man.
Man, that first quarter when they did that jet sweep, Max Crosby was like shot out of a cannon.
No, he's a monster.
He is a dog.
He's a monster, and I'm not getting on him. I'm not getting on Devontae Adams. I'm not getting on Josh Jacobs. I'm just stating like the obvious, basically based off how the seasons went and how the Raiders have won. You just like, oh, Devontae Adams had a great game. Oh, Josh Jacobs had like literally Max. Can you point to a game that Max had a bad game? Like I think Max played
maybe the Saints game because he didn't get any sacks or anything. You know, that was just collectively a whole team effort. Yeah. But you could honestly say that was the worst game for everybody, not just Max.
What was the worst loss, in your opinion?
Oh, dude.
Crazy that we're talking
I don't even know if I could put them on a scale anymore. That's where I feel because it's just how they're losing. Dude, this Rams one sucked. It wasn't like as like air out of the balloon as I don't know. That Saints one felt real bad. When we were going on that losing streak, that felt real bad. This Rams one though, dude, it sucks because it shouldn't have happened.
Let me say this real quick because earlier we were talking about the Raiders were 0-4 leading at halftime by double digits and how like the other NFL teams are 59-6. Let's look at the 4 losses. The Raiders were up 20-0 on the Cardinals, a loss, 29-23, lost in overtime. Y'all know what happened. The Raiders were up 20-10 against the Chiefs. They lost 30-29. The Raiders were up 20-10 against the Jaguars, a loss, 27-20. And now recently, obviously, we lost 17-16 to the Rams after leading 13-3 at halftime. So when you look at those to me, like, you have to, it's out of those. I understand we lost, we scored 0 points against the Saints. But I don't know, like these losses, like the Cardinals game, you can make an argument the Cardinals game was one of it's the worst loss this season just because you're up.
But that was recoverable, I feel like, because it's so early on in the year, you know? Like, you had so many opportunities to make, like, if the Raiders beat the Jags, the Colts, the Rams, even the Titans, we lost by, 2 to the Titans? We lost by 1 to the Chiefs. There's 5 games. Like, we're a double-digit win team right now with 4 games to go. With those 5 wins, and that's not even throwing in the Cardinals one. You know what I mean? Like, in those first 3, you lost by, less than 5 points or whatever the case was, less than 1 score. And it's just, dude, like, it's how they lose these games. They're so close, and I know it's so cliche. It's the National Football League. These games are going to be that close, but dude, it's like the Raiders have got to find ways. Like, there's no reason why the Raiders offense put up 16 points against the Rams, but put up 40 against the Seattle Seahawks. There's the unbalance there is just ridiculous.
Yeah, my rant in the season was after the Jaguars game. That was my rant. I was just like, oh my God, another. Was the Jaguars game was the game that they were up 17-0. I think they were up 7. They had a 17-0 lead and they ended up losing. And that was like their third loss of the season, where they're up 17-0 and they lost. And that's where I was just like, are you serious? Like, Josh McDaniels need to go. I'm just like, go on.
If we show up to play like this against any other team, we're going to lose all 4 of them, to be honest with you.
But you can make an argument the Rams was probably the worst of all of them, just based off like the talent level.
How it ended, a 98-yard drive, a quarter, like the storyline is horrible.
Oh my God, I got it. I got something about the 98 yard. That's happened like, oh my God, I had it written down here somewhere. But it literally, give me just a second.
Yeah. And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. If you guys haven't yet, smash the like button, subscribe to the channels.
Right.
But yeah, you got it?
Yeah, so that was the longest game-winning touchdown drive inside 2 minutes in the last 45 years, regular season or playoffs. That's the wrong side of the history right there. Longest game-winning touchdown drive inside 2 minutes in 45 years, regular season or playoffs.
And it's got to be our team. It's got to be our team coming off a 3-win, run. All the excitement and momentum is built up. And just like that, it's like the rug gets swept out underneath your feet. It's Raiders got to find a way to get it done, man. I don't know. I can't. Typically, you could point at a roster and say, hey, look, we just have a really bad defense and this is the issue. Or, hey, we have a big need at the quarterback position and the quarterback doesn't have a lot of weapons. We need to address that and give it time. This team, man, this is the first time in a long time where I just can't quite put my finger on it because I don't think I have enough fingers to put on the amount of areas that I think it is. There's a player aspect, and you can go a multitude of ways when it comes to the players' responsibilities of making this thing be a well-oiled machine. Then you've got coaching staff, and then you've got leadership. We're talking ownership all the way down. And there's a lot of blame to go around when it comes to why the Raiders aren't being a consistent product. So it's hard, man. It's hard. I don't know where to go this offseason. I think you get through this year, win as many football games as possible, give yourself the best situation. Look, the goal should be to go out here, win out these next 4 games, and see if you have a chance to make the postseason. If somebody just happened to lose out, do I think that we deserve a playoff spot with how we've been performing? After this game against the Rams, no. I mean, I don't. But if you can find a way to punch a ticket, that's all you need. You just need a ticket to the race. That's it. So get your ticket, go out there and win out these last 4 games. But as far as the offseason goes, it's like for the first time in a long time, I don't know where to put my finger on what direction we should go.
The last 4 games, see how it ends. But I mean, obviously, Mark Davis came out and said that Josh McDaniels is going to come out this season. He's going to come back next season, but my thing was if he lost the locker room, then he has to go. But apparently he didn't lose the locker room. But you got to look at coaching when the Raiders keep losing like this. You know what I mean? The way they're losing, they can't finish strong. They're having terrible halves. Like, I mean, Derek Carr's regressed under Josh McDaniels. Certain players have regressed. They haven't looked the same. And Dodger, everything that says the Saints game couldn't even get past. Yeah, I mean, the Saints game is pretty obvious. I mean, obviously the Raiders were shut out and they couldn't get past the 50-yard line. I was just like, yeah, that game was, yeah, you could basically say that was the worst game of the season just based off the score. Oh man,
go down to alleyesong.com. He's got a comment.
All eyes on G. Hold on 1 second. 7 times we threw the ball in the second half, and more than half of those came from the same drive. How's the balance for you? Shout out to SC for the stat. Ooh, wow. And
that's what we were talking about over here.
And that goes to show you that pretty much summarized my statement after the game was like the Raiders were playing not to lose. Man. They're trying to run the ball, run the clock out. They wanted to get out of there. They weren't aggressive. They plays where you felt like, well, McDaniels could have went for it on 4th down. He didn't go for it on 4th down. He punted the ball. It's kind of weird. You know what I mean? He coached the game a little bit different than we're used to seeing McDaniels coach the game. Not to say that he's the greatest coach in the world, but still, like, I like the aggressiveness of Josh McDaniels. I know a lot of people, that might not be a popular opinion, but I like the aggressiveness. That's today's NFL. You have to be aggressive. The most aggressive team wins, in my opinion. And the Raiders weren't the most aggressive team that night. It was the Rams. The Rams were most aggressive. You see Baker Mayfield having 20 plus yard passes, and he hasn't been in the offense for 2 days. Crazy.
Guareb coming in with our conspiracies. We're gonna have a Saturday conspiracy show.
Yeah, for real. I'm surprised you ain't bring it up because I see some of these videos people coming out with talking about, but we'll get into that in a little bit. D Menace has a public service announcement. He says, enter the Fair NFL 2K prize giveaway. Yes, I recently got to 2K, and I really appreciate everybody that supported this channel. So I really, in my show of appreciation, make sure to go and click on this link. All you have to do is just put in your YouTube name and your email, and we'll have a prize giveaway on the next live show. Hey, next live show, I think, is it on my channel or your channel? We switch off, y'all. So if y'all haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to both channels.
I think you said Tuesday was mine, but we can get it set up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you heard it here, man. So we'll do it. We'll do it on the next show. The next show will be on Tuesday, and that's when the prize giveaway. Then the winner will be announced on Tuesday's show. So make sure to sign up before then. And I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody for the support, y'all.
But hey, I mean, if you're doing a 2K giveaway, I mean, if we have to adjust it to make a special occasion for your show, we can do that as well. So just let me know.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good, man. We just gonna have to be consistent. Raiders Down Under says, I feel if we can improve the pass rush and get a coverage linebacker and another safety and a cornerback and a quarterback and a coach and a defensive coordinator and a new owner and maybe a new color rush on Thursday.
Oh my god.
The Raiders need a lot, bro.
They do. They
need a lot. And that just, you know what, and I'm just joking, but when you joke, it's a goofy way of telling you the truth. The Raiders do have a lot of different needs, and they have a limited amount of resources. And you could point to Mike Mayock and John Gruden. That's probably the easy answer. But also Dave Z,
he pulled out the pocketbook this offseason. A lot of it is on Dave Z.
You know what I'm saying? Can't forget about him.
Okay, name what contract John Gruden and Mike Mayock put together that's hurting the Raiders right now. None.
The Kenyon Drake was not a good contract.
Yeah, okay. But that's not like it was quite a bit of money for him, but I'm talking like big time contract that really set you back financially. You can make the argument Chandler Jones, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. You go down the line, you could say, hey, Dave Z went out here and just had blank checks and was writing them this offseason.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think that because I remember when we gave Kenyon Drake that contract, I was like, what are you doing?
Well, I see Cool Kev, I see you. He says Arnett, Trent Brown, Joyner. Yeah, all those, but but when it comes to our cap space now, that those aren't contracts that have we're not limited like back in the day how we were limited.
Arnett was a draft pick. Obviously, we're not talking about draft pick. He's talking about free agent. But yeah, Joyner was not a good one. But did Joyner? Did Mayock sign Joyner? I think that was McKenzie. That was probably that was McKenzie and John Gruden's first year together.
Yep. You're right.
Yeah, so I think that was McKenzie, and even Trent Brown. Trent Brown was a McKenzie and John Gruden. But you know what? You could probably point to John Gruden because once John Gruden signed on, he became the de facto GM. I mean, McKenzie didn't have as much power as he did when he first came in to the Raiders.
And I know that the draft isn't a guarantee, but for me, in my personal opinion, free agency isn't the way that you build a team either. Like, free agency is just as much of a gamble as the draft is. So if you're going to gamble, the draft is the lottery, in my opinion. You can really find a home run for your organization, a good, young, solid foundational piece. And the Raiders have got to put a ton of assets to the defensive side of the football in hopes that you have that much capital that you're going to hit on a couple of those at key positions, linebacker, safety, defensive tackle, and really come out of the other end.
Oh, Corey Littleton?
Corey Littleton was a bad one.
But who was that, a Mayock or McKenzie?
That was the same as the Joyner year, I thought. I thought they all came in together. Corey Littleton, Lamarcus. No, maybe Corey Littleton came in a year after Lamarcus Joyner. That's what I think. That was a Gruden and Mayock, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. There's so much that's happened since then.
right. Valerie Lynn in the building. Appreciate you coming through. She said, I say we will keep Derek Carr next, maybe draft a quarterback in the mid rounds, but then I would use the rest of the draft on defense. Hey, I like that. That's a solid, hey, everything's really dependent on how the season ends. I feel like if the Raiders finish strong, Derek Carr improves on, his season. You know what I mean? If he finishes strong, then obviously I think Derek Carr does come back. I think they give him that opportunity. Because if you look at it, the way his contract's set up, they can cut Derek Carr and it's not going to be a huge cap hit. Even after the 1 year option that day passes, they can cut him at any point. I think in training camp, I think it's like a $3 million. I don't know if someone in the chat can quote this. I don't know if you know this by the top of your head, but I think it's not a huge cap hit if Derek Carr gets cut in any of his years in his contract.
Yeah, if DC gets cut, then we free up the rest of the remaining just because all the guaranteed money is on this season.
Nick Kowalski probably say, yeah, that was not good. That wasn't good at all. Unique. But is Unique still getting paid by the Raiders? Is there a cap hit with Unique? I thought once we traded him.
I thought that they took on his contract due to a trade.
The Ruggs, that was just the Ruggs should be an asterisk. That's the next thing. It's because it's a freak situation. It's just a freak situation. But you can point to
and that's not. I'm not saying that they didn't have bad signings. They were riddled with bad signings. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like where the Raiders were. If the Raiders, you got to think about this. If the Raiders were so strapped due to the signings that Gruden and Mayock did, there's no way they would have gone out and spent the kind of money, guaranteed money, that they did this offseason. Let's see. They extended Max Crosby to a huge contract, $100 million deal. They go out there and re-sign Derek Carr. They go get a Devontae Adams. They extend Hunter Renfrow. They extend Darren Waller. If you don't have money, you don't go out here and make these kind of moves. So all these names that you're listing now are horrible free agent signings or horrible draft picks. But at the same exact time, it's like we went out there and spent a ton of guaranteed money this offseason.
Do you think the Raiders go to the playoffs?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Look, at this point, I think anything the Raiders do from here on out is just like it's a plus. Like, all right, they won a game. Some people might argue if they win a game, it's like literally for no reason because now they're gonna get to a draft position and it's gonna mess up the draft position at that. But you guys know my thoughts on that. I don't believe in tanking. I feel like the Raiders need to build on what they have, and if the people in the building are not the people, they need to bring in some new. They got to bring in some new coaching staffs. Like if they feel like they can't, because Josh McDaniels is here to win at the end of the day.
And at some point, somebody's gonna have to put their foot down and make the tough decisions. Right. Like you can't just be the passive guy all the time, regime after regime that's afraid to make a franchise direction change. So look, if you're Josh McDaniels and you're like, hey, I don't know if DC's my guy, have the audacity to step out there and make the decision that only that they can make. And if he is your guy and you're willing to build around DC, then build around DC and go out there and create a great defense, a defense that can. But I hate to say that as well, dude, because I feel like this defense has been competent this year. Like all of our losses have come down to one score, and it's just the games that we have typically won and close games with DC at the helm when he has the football and the game is on the line and he goes down there and finishes the game. The ball just has not swung in the Raiders' favor this season as it has typically in the past.
Yeah. So, you done off that. Too many blown leads, man. I feel you, man. Raiders down says go to over cap. Now you'll see the dead cap for this year is $47 million for this year and all the last regime's guys. Whew.
Does that carry over into next year when all those contracts set in?
We're just gonna have to check that out when we can. Valerie Lynn says, I think we can finish close to 500 this season, but next season in the system, I believe we pick up the right people in the offseason. So Valerie, she brings up a valid point. Do you think that there are players in this building that haven't bought in?
100%.
Overall, in the locker room, they've shown that okay, like the leaders have shown that okay, they're fully support Josh McDaniels. The majority of that locker room, guys like Deron Harmon, those guys that brought in, and obviously the leaders of the team, they're all like for Josh McDaniels, and they went on a 3-game win streak and yada yada yada. But there were rumors about players in the locker room not getting along with this coaching staff. Do you feel like there's guys in the locker room kind of like messing up the chemistry of this team?
Yeah, I mean 100%. Now to the whole extent, I'm not gonna act like I know that. I don't know the extent of the guys that aren't brought in. Is it majority? Is it 20%? Is it some of your key cornerstone players? That's the more of my question. Is it the Hunter Renfrows, the Darren Wallers? I couldn't see it being Hunter Renfrow, and a part of me wants to say I can't really. I know this is going to go contrary to what the Raider Nation believes, but I'm going to even say I don't think it's Darren Waller, but we're going to see this offseason.
Oh, my God. We didn't even talk about that. Oh.
Yeah, I know. That's why I kind of segued. That's kind of why I segued.
Oh, my God, y'all. I forgot to talk about that. Darren Waller, he dropped some music video the same day that the Raiders lose against the Rams. Terrible timing. And maybe it was a situation where he was going to release it no matter what, but it just looks bad, you know what I mean? And it just adds to the fuel of the Darren Waller haters.
I think he scheduled that thinking the Raiders were about to dominate the Rams.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's coming back next week, so he's like, "Oh, we're about to get all these views, get everybody hyped up."
Yeah,
that was a backfire.
Yeah, it was a backfire. I don't think he purposely did that. I don't think he purposely was like, "Oh, the Raiders lost. Oh, I'm gonna drop this video."
It's a coincidence.
It was scheduled. It was already gonna happen, and it just stuck that the Raiders lost. And then that video comes out. The Raider Nation is just looking at Darren Waller like, you should have been on the field. You know what I mean? But, well, man, it's crazy. But, man, if there's people in the locker room who, don't want to be here.
Cannot play with them. Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners. I want people that want to win.
Facts 100%. If you don't want to play for the Raiders, you don't play this coaching staff, then just leave. Go.
We're going to find out, too. We're going to find out.
Right, come on, man. Like, people spend their hard-earned money to go to the games, watch the games. Come on, bro.
And the most valuable thing out of all of those is time. I mean, look at what we do every single week consistently. We give time out of our lives to commit to this team, to talk about them, to support them, to encourage them, to critique them. And dude, it's just constantly, year after year, it's just, there's not the same buy-in as there is from fan base. And that's the problem. So I think we're going to find out those names. 100% we're going to find out those names because you're going to see them released or traded in this offseason. And then maybe we can start, pinpointing to maybe who those players were.
So I think Raiders Down Under was trying to answer your question from earlier. Nope, next year's dead cap is $23 million, and the majority is Littleton 9.9. Oh yeah, Littleton's contract, because I think they took that what was that thing during that June 1st?
Yep.
They split the contract up. Yep. You know what I mean? Carl Nassib's contract was ugly.
That was a bad one.
Ooh, that was terrible. Littleton, Nassib, Drake, Leatherwood. Leatherwood's a draft pick, but I get the point. Like that's bad. Yeah. But a beat writer this season, he had a great point, and literally the Raiders circle of life is pretty much the new regime comes in and then points at the previous regime, and then they mess up the picks, and then the new regime comes. That's literally what's been happening with the Raiders. Literally, like new coaching staff, new GM comes in, and they point at like what the previous regime did, and then they mess up and hand out bad contracts, miss picks, and then it just keeps going and going and going and going, and then you have a guy like Derek Carr, quarterback that players, anybody needs stability in order to succeed. So imagine a quarterback, even though it's a quarterback plays sports, they need that too as well. Like they need stability, they need consistency. And Derek Carr hasn't really had that with the Raiders. And, it might, I know I'm talking about Derek Carr again, but at the same time, like, man, watching that game, it just had me thinking, like, man, like, are we gonna see a car, like, are we gonna see that Derek Carr that we all think that he could be? A lot of people are kind of like 2016 this, 2016 that, but we haven't seen it. And
are you always going to constantly chase that year? Is my question. You know, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, but I don't know, man. I feel like his red zone efficiency is not good. He's regressed in that area of his life, so in his game. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a wait and see approach, to be honest with you.
Queen Ritter in the building. She said, "Ha, shake my head. Did you not see him with that shirt off though?" I just turned off the video. I was just like, "Oh my God, come on, bro." I was just like, "Come on, man. That was terrible timing, man." But I know he didn't do it on purpose. You know,
right.
I know he didn't do it on purpose. It was just like one of those. It's just the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how it goes, man. With the Raiders, you know. Guarb. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but just shows you how little you guys know about this team when you guys get excited saying they finally figured out 3 wins. You look like fools. Are you talking? You talking about us?
I'm
talking about us?
Look, here's the thing. I know Guarb. I know the type of guy he is. He says this kind of stuff. Yeah, he says this kind of stuff. But I know. Look. I'm not going to be the guy that is just going to sit here and watch this team and just be completely negative all the time. I can't. I'm not going to live my life that way. I'm not going to follow this team that way. I'm going to take, when the Raiders win football games, I'm going to be excited because they're few and far in between this year. If the Raiders show any sign of life and any sign of consistency, I'm going to celebrate that, and I'm going to point in the direction of, hey, that's the way the Raiders can go and find success. So, look, man, it's not that we're looking like fools. It's we like this team and we're excited for them to win football games. Now, you can make the point whether or not you think that's going to happen this season or if it's rigged. I know that you're under the impression that everything about it is rigged, and I'm not here to argue that there's not parts of this game that isn't rigged. Matter of fact, I'd probably be the one of very few. Pharaoh knows, like on our phone call conversations, there's some conspiracies out there that I think are definitely true. And so, look, man, I'm going to support this team when they win. I'm going to support this team when they lose. And I'm going to critique them. And I'm going to just point into the direction where I personally think they should go. That doesn't mean that doesn't have any weight to it. But that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep pushing forward with that.
I feel you, man. You've seen the Raiders circle of life that I've been telling, that I just gone over. I just told you that the new regime comes in, they point to the previous regime and say, look, all the picks and contracts they messed up, and then they make their mistakes, they get fired, and then the next regime comes in. So I get it. You've seen all that, but we've seen that too.
Yeah, we have in our lifetime.
We've seen that too. You've just seen more of it. You know what I'm saying? You just seen more of it. You probably seen the Raiders when they've won.
You know, I'm going to make the argument that I've probably seen more losing in this organization than you have. You know what I mean? You've been a fan for 40 years, and in those times, you know, the Raiders were on top of it. 70s, 80s. You can even talk into the early 2000s. When I really started following this team, I mean, you're talking about, gosh, go down the quarterbacks, the Jamarcus Russells, Culpepper, you know, Carson Palmer, Jason Campbell. The revolving door that we had to go watch. And it's like we've had one or two winning seasons in my lifetime of consistently following this team. So yeah, I feel like I've experienced more losing than almost anybody is what I feel like.
And at the same time, we're also NFL fans too. So we know what losing looks like and we know what winning looks like. And you start seeing what's the common denominator with winning teams. Whether it's coaching, whether it's having a great quarterback, whether it's having a great front office, great ownership, the consistency. You know what I mean? There's a reason why the Steelers are always winning. They're just pretty consistent. Like you just look at like the Patriots, the last decade, last 20 years, like you know how many years at this point. There's a reason why teams like that are good because they've been consistent in key spots on their team, whether that's coaching, quarterback, even GM. The ownership has been solid. Like the Raiders haven't had that. They haven't had that. You know, Mark Davis, I can see that he's trying, You know what I mean? He's not one of those owners that think that he knows football and he'll try to make decisions about football. He's not one of those guys. He lets the guys that he hires make decisions, but it just seems like he's been missing. Even when he had Gruden was, we know his mistakes. They're all documented. You know what I mean? McKenzie had his moments. You probably could say that McKenzie was probably his best GM. You know, he had the best draft. You think about it. Yes, some of his players are still playing in the NFL. Like guys like TJ Carey, guys like I think one of the second round picks that a lot of people were getting on him. He plays for the Giants. I don't know if anybody would know this.
What position?
I think it's D-line. It's hella random. He plays for the Giants, D-line.
Yeah, you got me stumped.
Oh, man. Someone knows this. I know someone knows this. There's a player that plays for the Giants, D-line, used to play for the Raiders. He was a second-round pick. McKenzie drafted him, and he was one of those McKenzie second-round picks. You know how McKenzie used to take, like guys that were, like, you know, freaks, combine freaks, and then, like, try to, you know, that was his thing. You know what I mean? Oh, man, I'm trying to.
I'll look it up. You can address the chat.
Let me get back to the chat, man. I see y'all moving and grooving in there. Apologize, man. Let's see. Boy, it's 20 years is like a lifetime, the amount of expense. For real, man. Daniel Kim in the building. Salute, Bear. Salute, Ray. Salute, Nation. Appreciate you coming through, man. My God, Daniel Kim. And Brandon Rambo says Philly only got one Super Bowl and 4 or 5 championship games, but I've been a fan for the Eagles since 2005. Oh yeah, Brandon, you're an Eagles fan. I appreciate you coming through. So I know the feeling I got one Super. Hey, at least you see one Super Bowl in your lifetime, bro.
Exactly.
And it was against the Patriots. Oh, that must have felt good. As you beat the Patriots.
Oh, Justin Ellis and Jihad Ward.
Boom. I didn't even know Justin Ellis played for the Giants, but Jihad Ward was the guy I was talking about. Jihad Ward.
Yep. That's wild.
You know what I'm saying? So McKenzie wasn't that bad of a GM. If look, put it this way, if you have players that are still playing in the NFL and the average NFL career is like what, 3 years, maybe less, that's you're doing something right. You're doing something right. If you have players still in the NFL that you drafted. Because Jihad Ward, how long has he been in the NFL?
Man, it's been a minute now. I didn't even think he was in here.
Let's see, he got drafted. When did he get drafted?
The fact that Justin Ellis is still playing.
Justin Ellis. That was run stopper, nose tackle. Mario Edwards plays for the Giants. He plays for the Bears. I think he plays for the Bears. The Bears.
Hey, and Jihad Ward has 3 sacks this year.
He has 3 sacks. You know what I'm saying? That's a solid. He's playing solid for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a superstar, but he's a role player, man. And
he's been in the league since 2016.
Just saying.
Yep.
I'm just saying, y'all. But yeah, man, it's about that time. But I'm gonna go ahead and post this link one more time for y'all to check out. I'm doing a 2K prize giveaway. I was supposed to do it like a couple weeks ago, but I've been super busy. But I'm a man of my word, so I'm gonna go ahead and post this link to sign up for the 2K prize giveaway. It's just my appreciation, the support I've gotten from the channel. The growth has been amazing. So make sure to check out the link. Posted it right there. And I'm also going to post it on my community tab too. So be on the lookout for that as well. But if my mods can go ahead and repost that. Brandon Randall says, that's true. After we lost the first time, I was hoping we would get a revenge with McNabb. But who? Oh, damn. Oh, my God. Yeah, y'all did go to the Super Bowl with McNabb and T.O. I forgot about that. Yeah, man. But yeah, man, any last thoughts, man? It's going to be a while till the Raiders play their next game. It's going to be against the Patriots. Be on the lookout. Tuesday is going to be our preview show, so we're going to get into that. We just wanted to react to – we didn't get a chance to react, man, after that terrible, terrible loss on Thursday. But, you know, there's 4 games left. The Raiders could still build on their – you know what I mean? Still build off the 4 games. They still can get better. They still can improve. And if they go on a 4-game winning streak, it's going to be a whole different tune. Raider Nation is going to be like, okay, there might be something here. But obviously, if we lose the rest of the games, like, ugh.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
Any last thoughts?
Nah, man. I think this 10-day break is the best thing that could happen for us right now. I think just let the players sit on this for a few days and get back. Maybe you can get Renfro and Waller back and get them dialed in for a whole week of practice. And, we head into this next game with our eyes set to win and maybe go on a 4-game run here and just see what can happen. I want the best for this team moving forward. I want to see them win out. Is that a reality? Probably not. But we're going to see. We're going to take it one game at a time and see what kind of direction this locker room's going in. And we're going to be here for every step of the ride.
Facts, 100%. If you haven't liked the video, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to both our channels. We switch off weekly. So obviously today is on my channel. The next time I'm live, I'm going to be on Raider Rage channel. So you want to make sure you subscribe to both channels. The road to 3K continues, man. I'm trying to get to that special number. But in the meantime, man, hey, I really appreciate the support. I posted a link in the chat. I'm going to post the link on the community tab for you guys to go ahead and sign up, man. It's just my show of appreciation. That's all, man. But I guess that's it, man. Till next time. Peace.
Great Pharaoh. Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.